So hello, welcome to another edition of the wee Wednesday Blether this sunny Monday afternoon. Currently we are in Iowa, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Something that I'm sure I've been told before but never really registered is people in Iowa are really quite friendly. So it's nice to be here, and a little bit unfortunate that we will not be here for long. We had a good time in St. Joseph in Minnesota, and it was kind of sad to get back on the trail again. We spent our morning finishing the Lake Wobegon Trail and then back onto the roads again and back onto hills. We cycled eventually to a place called Dalbo, and in Dalbo there was a really good biker hostel. Unfortunately we only stopped there for breakfast and to dry our wet tent. But when we were there, the person who owned the hostel told us of a shortcut which we decided to take, and it involved perhaps 90 mile of independent bicycle path again. And so we headed on that, but the road getting there wasn't so nice. But we got onto the path. We'd done our 55 or so miles for the day, and Sharon's in the supermarket, and I noticed that the cable on my front derailleur was shredded and was about to break, and so I quickly got onto Google Maps and found the closest bike shop, and ran pushing my bike to the bike shop because I was worried about it being closed when we got there. And I turned up and I couldn't find it, so I went into an auto repair shop, and it turned out that indeed the bike shop had closed. It had closed 7 years ago, and it wasn't a bicycle shop, it was a motorbike shop. Sometimes it's confusing here because cyclists are called bikers and motorbikers are called cyclists, and I fell victim to that. So I jumped back on Google Maps and worked out that the closest bike shop was 18 miles away. So I rang them up and I found out that they closed at 7:30 at night, and so we threw my chain onto the second ring and beelined for this bicycle shop 18 miles away, which meant we did a 68 or something mile day, which is a big day for us. Got there at the last minute and they changed it for us, and then they asked us where we were camping, and we said we were just camping in the local town park. And so they jumped on the phone and called the police and asked if it was okay, and the police said no, which is the first time we haven't been able to camp in a town park right across the nation. We were in a forest lake. Avoid it if you're a cyclist. And so the police sent us 3.5 miles out of town, off route, to a baseball diamond, and said we can camp on the edge of that. And so we went out there. We're lying in bed, sound asleep at 11 o'clock at night, when all of a sudden car headlights are on the tent, and it was the police. And so I popped my head out the door of the tent and gave him a wave, thinking he'll go away because the police knew we were there. And he walks on up to the tent and shines his flashlight in one hand at me, and he has his hand sitting on his holster on the other, and he says, "What do we have here? Obviously you're camping." We frantically had to explain to him that we had police permission to be there, and he did apologize that no one had told him, and then he left us alone. But it's a bit strange being woken up in the middle of the night by police when you're in bed. We did have a good encounter. We stopped at a Lutheran church to get water the next morning. They were really nice to us and kind of redeemed the town. And then we cycled south until the bike path ran out, and then we jumped on another bike path, which is the one that runs from Minneapolis through to Stillwater. Absolutely the best bicycle path I've been on anywhere. It was fantastic, and downhill as well into Stillwater. I didn't like the eastern Minnesota at all. I found the people unfriendly. I found the towns too big and too tourist orientated, even though it was pretty. But and when we were on the roads were dual carriageway, and there was just lots of cars and there were lots of people, and didn't like it at all. And we kept on cycling south. Everything changed about the culture when we hit La Crosse. in Minnesota. Second time I've been there, and the second good experience I've had there, and everybody was just saying hello to us and friendly to us and nice to us. And then from La Crosse south was really nice. We stopped at a place called, I think, Lansing, which is in Iowa, and we were going to stay in this town park there, but they had some big festival happening and there were going to be parties all night and in the town park. And I asked at the information centre where we could camp for free, and they sent us to the town hall. And I'm on my way down to the town hall, and I spotted a sign that said "Cyclists Welcome," and it pointed upstairs. And so I went upstairs expecting to see a bike shop, and I found an art gallery. And the woman in the art gallery said, "You know, how can I help?" And I said, "Well, I thought you were a bike shop because of the Cyclists Welcome sign. However, we're looking for a free place to camp." It turned out that they were using the reverse side of a piece of paper, and the piece of paper that I should have read said "open," but it had blown up in the wind to say "Cyclists Welcome." And the end result is she invited us back to her property, her and her husband's property, and they had a guest house on the property. It was quite a walk up a gravel road and gravel driveway for us, but we stayed there the night and had a couple of beers with her and her husband and a chat, and then we got out at about 6 o'clock in the morning back on the road again. So it was a lovely wee interlude. And then we cycled to Marquette in Cedar Rapids and got picked up by our friends who we're staying with now. Marquette in Iowa, and got picked up by our friends who we're staying with now. It was lovely to be in a Lutheran church yesterday for multiple services. And I think that's us. A sad thing happened this week as well. We used our last match from Rimi supermarket, so another piece of Lithuania has been thrown out as we head across the United States. Don't think much else has happened this week. It was quite a different week on the bike. I got sick. That was the first time, and you just kind of have to cycle through that. We got rained upon, which wasn't that nice, but it wasn't that much of a problem. Played a lot of table tennis here, which has been fun. Last night was really funny. We had all these guests around for a barbecue, and it was really nice meeting all these people from the neighbourhood. And our host said to people, "Well, you know, Cal's written some poetry. Maybe you want to stay around and he can read poetry." And basically the whole guest list burned rubber to get out of the house after that. I don't think poetry was the magic word for them. Very funny. Yeah, we're having a good time. It's nice to be with friends. And tomorrow we head back to Marquette and we start cycling through Wisconsin again. It was funny, we did about 3 hours in Wisconsin. And in Minnesota, when people look at you when you're cycling, they just kind of give you this long, hard, stern look. And we crossed the bridge into Wisconsin, and all of a sudden people were waving and smiling at us as we were cycling past. And then we came back into Minnesota again and we got the long, stern look. Which stayed that way until we got to La Crosse, which is Minnesota still. Anyhow, that's all for now. Don't know where I'll be when I speak to you next. We got a number of days off the bicycle in Wisconsin until we catch the ferry into Michigan. See you later. Bye-bye.